Open Hand Impact Address, where you'll get to hear about our accomplishments, our challenges, and our goals. My name is Linda Glick. I've been part of the Open Hand community for almost 20 years, primarily as a volunteer in the kitchen. You'll always find me in the kitchen on Thursday mornings, but also I served on the board for 2 terms with Carl. And so it is my honor tonight to introduce Paul Hepfer, our CEO. Paul started in March of 2019, but I met him earlier than that, right on the second floor of Project Open Hand, because I was part of the interview committee. And so I'm sure I asked Paul really interesting questions about challenges, innovation, etc. Little did he know that 1 year from his start date would be the San Francisco lockdown for COVID. So that redefined challenge and innovation for Paul. And so our client need was high, but as you can imagine, the restrictions on cooking and delivering food to our clients was high also. Paul got us through COVID with every innovation he could think of, and we made it through and onward and upward, and he's managed to increase our operating budget by 66%. Our meals have had better ingredients and better meals for our clients, and that's just his local focus. Well, I have to throw in this. I didn't know where to segue for it, but he's also a movie producer. Paul got, in between COVID and increasing the budget and a few other things, he produced the story of Ruth Brinker, our founder, which has been shown in about 12 film festivals. So that was a little extra on his resume, film producer. But in addition to focusing on improving our services locally in San Francisco and Alameda counties, Paul is a leader at the state level and the national level of our Food is Medicine Coalition. He's on all the leadership committees, and we, again, are so proud to be part of that as an organization, and we couldn't thank Paul enough for his leadership on that. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our CEO, Paul Hepfer.
Thank you so much, Linda, for that kind introduction, and thanks for hiring me 5.5 years ago, too. I can say that most every day. I thank you for hiring me. There's some days where, where's Linda? I want to talk to her about this. But really, and thank you all for joining us in our grocery center at 730 Polk Street, for those of you that are here. And those of you that are with us online virtually, thank you for joining us. And a big shout out to our Project Open Hand production team that is doing the live broadcast. There's always little glitches with live broadcasts. We haven't done one since our virtual hand-to-hand gala in the middle of the pandemic. So some of the equipment might have been a little dusty, but I think we've got it all figured out now. So thank you all for plugging in and showing up and tuning on too. So we hope that this impact address becomes a regular event for us. We plan to do something like this, something very similar to this over the last few years, but something always came up, like a global pandemic or the surges associated with the pandemic the years after that too. But we thought that given this is the eve of our 40th anniversary, we felt compelled to host this address. And so in these few minutes, I really hope to highlight some of the challenging health trends on the horizon. And I also hope to share with you all how we plan to address some of these trends. But I also hope to spotlight how our 4 decades of investment have been paying dividends to our community many times over. You know, 40 years is a really long time for a nonprofit to survive and thrive. In fact, the National Center for Charitable Statistics say that over 50% of nonprofits hit the wall in their first 12 months. And of those that make it past that, 30% never make it to see 10 years. Our longevity, I believe, is a testament to the altruistic character of our founder, Ruth Brinker, and the commitment to that mission all these years since. And along that journey, tens of thousands of volunteers and donors have invested in our work and our purpose. However, another less cheerful fact pertaining to our longevity is the real and painful fact that chronic illness in this country continues to rise at alarming rates. That was true in 2014, which Linda probably remembers this, when we opened our doors to people with other chronic health issues like diabetes and heart disease. But still, national rates have been climbing ever since. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, states that over the past 2 decades, prevalence of heart disease, diabetes, and end-stage renal disease and other chronic health issues has risen steadily, and they project these trends to continue. In fact, in America now, many people are dealing with multiple chronic health conditions. 42% of Americans with a chronic condition have 2 or more, and 12% have at least 5. And although medication treatments have vastly improved over the years, the fact is that the longer people live with uncontrolled health issues, the more likely they are to develop others. For example, people with type 2 diabetes are 4 times more likely to develop heart disease than people without type 2 diabetes. And while it's true that the majority of our clients in our wellness program are living with HIV, people with diabetes, heart disease, and end-stage renal disease are gaining ground quickly. And many of the people that we have served for decades with HIV are now faced with the added challenge of managing a second or third chronic health issue. And my last doom and gloom statistic, I promise, is that over 80% of chronic disease in this country are directly attributable to lifestyle factors like nutrition and physical activity. So these statistics paint a picture of Project Open Hand and the need for Project Open Hand in this community. And perhaps in some ways, the need is greater than ever before. And we know from firsthand testimony of our clients that our services heal and greatly improve quality of life. We also know from peer-reviewed research conducted by many of our colleagues across the country and that we have been involved with, that the return on investment in medically tailored meal programs is immense. Reduced hospitalizations, decreased readmissions, improvement in medication adherence, and overall improvement in health have been well documented and endorsed by nearly all reputable medical resources. Project Open Hand offers such a unique product and service. The science-based standards we follow in creating our meals and groceries are directly targeted to improve health by eliminating foods that partially led to those chronic health issues, and by adding foods that promote health and healing. We continue to make considerable investments in improving the quality, the taste, and the cultural relevancy of our products and services. We believe that's our responsibility, and we take this responsibility seriously. We don't often talk about our organization in terms of prevention, but we really should. There are 3 generally accepted levels of prevention in public health. They are primary prevention, secondary prevention, and tertiary prevention. Tertiary prevention manages existing diseases to prevent complications and further damage. Medically tailored meals are clearly a vital tool to help a person with diabetes prevent the onset of heart disease. Our chronic kidney disease meals, specifically developed for stage 3, are a critical treatment and prevention intervention to help that individual prevent or delay end-stage renal disease as long as they can. Food as medicine interventions can and should play a critical role in helping people dealing with substance use and substance use addiction and serious mental health issues, to prevent other health issues from becoming part of their life, but also to help them better deal with their mental health. And perhaps the most exciting development at Project Open Hand during my short tenure is that we now have the ability to serve women experiencing a high-risk pregnancy. This prevention is using nutrition at its most fundamental level. We now have the ability to literally improve the health of 2 generations at the same time, double the impact and double the meals with love. It's hard to fathom the social return on investment of this level of intervention. The opportunity for us to double or even triple our impact in the Bay Area is only limited by our ability to match the resources to the need. We can and will do this. At Project Open Hand, we do not operate with a scarcity mindset, which is all too common in the nonprofit world. For example, 3 years ago, we made the strategic decision to switch to olive oil from a much less healthy cooking oil. This was because scientific evidence indicated that we should prioritize olive oil for its health-improving properties. It now costs us nearly $40,000 more a year because of this change. But if we truly respect the needs of our clients and the responsibility to serve the best and highest quality we can with dignity, that was really an easy decision to make. We also have the responsibility to our community on an environmental level. Human service nonprofits are really not known for our work in reducing carbon footprints. We so often are looking to squeeze all we can out of every dollar we receive that we don't look for opportunities to green up, and that's unfortunate. And also, unfortunately, this can perpetuate environmental inequities. And in the food service industry, you know what this relates to or translates to? It's often that we choose cheaper, lower quality food and to people who actually need the highest quality the most. So this results in a cycle of negative impact at several levels. We're committed to lowering our carbon footprint in a fiscally responsible way while improving the nutritional quality of our products, including more plant-based offerings for our clients to select, which also has an impact on our planet. It's an exciting time to be a part of the Project Open Hand team as an employee or a volunteer, a board member, a client, or an investor. Most CEOs know better than to guarantee a potential investor a positive return. However, I feel I can honestly say without hubris that I can guarantee a positive return. And that's because we will continue to reach as many folks as we can who will most benefit from our type of nutrition services, and we'll do that in a way without sacrificing quality. And so we encourage all of you to join us this next anniversary year and be part of our impact, and maybe come along with us for another 40 years. There are so many ways to contribute. Show up at an event like you're doing tonight, volunteer, as Linda does often for many, many years, become an ambassador by telling friends or colleagues about the work we do who may not know about us. Not everyone knows about us today. Or some of you may want to join us on some of our policy initiatives at the state or federal level. We need your help to help us continue to provide and promote food as medicine and serve more meals with love for another 40 years. So with that, I thank you all for coming, and I want to open it up for questions from the audience or online too. Thank you. I know we have some questions that people emailed in that we can go to those if no one has a question here first.
There is a question,
okay.
Paul. Somebody had asked for possible ways to support, to donate to Project Open Hand in a sustainable way or into a perpetuity fund where the principle is preserved and grown.
I love that question, and I've been involved with that many times over the years, the 30 years. There are definitely ways to do that. We can, donors can set up endowments themselves in which the donor can request that only the interest from the endowment be moved into operations, or they can put a time restriction on it too. They can say, well, I want an endowment, and then after 5 years, the interest can go into operations. But there's many ways to structure that, and it's a very common practice and a very smart donor that looks at that type of arrangement. Great question. I'm going to repeat the question because I think some people online might not have heard it. So the question was, are there ways for a donor to contribute to an organization in a more sustainable way, like setting up some sort of endowment or restricting some funds for some period of time? So you heard my answer first, and it's kind of like Jeopardy. I gave you the question after that. Questions? Yes, sir, in the back. Alberto.
From a philanthropic perspective, what do you think are the bigger challenges that the organization faces?
We had the question from a philanthropic perspective, what are some of the greatest challenges that the organization faces? The first thing that comes to mind, and it comes to mind probably with every American during an election cycle, it's inflation. We've experienced tremendous inflation in food prices, gas prices, just like the rest of the country has. But unfortunately, most of our grants and contracts that cover some portion of meals have not changed. So if we had an increase of 15% of meal cost and the amount we get from the city increased by 3%, you can see that you can all do the math pretty quickly there. So we try and tell that story to donors that we have to, and we pay our employees. We want to pay our employees a livable wage in the Bay Area. So we can't just keep up with inflation. We have to have a structure that we operate above inflation. So that's probably the biggest challenge that we face in the last couple of years. Other questions? Anything else online? Yes, Linda.
Michelle and I were talking about the competition. Now that we're in the realm of medically tailored meals, there's a lot of competition out there from people who aren't necessarily as quality as they should be. So how do we address? It doesn't really matter, but how do we address the competition? Great
question. I'll repeat it. Linda asked. There's a lot of competition in the meal in the sector now because I'll add to it too, because there is now some level of funding reimbursement from managed care organizations for the type of meal we provide because of the research we've been involved with for so many years. So the for-profit sector has seen this, and they're jumping in like they do in every free economy. But the problem we're facing is many of these for-profit sectors are falsely claiming to be medically tailored meals, like we generally are, and we follow a national standard. Honestly, I was a little flippant at a conference I spoke at 2 years ago where I dealt with this question, and I said, Domino's is putting arugula on pizza and calling it a medically tailored meal. And there's nothing to stop them from doing that. We hope, one, that the payers that are paying for this service are educating themselves, which they're not always, but we try and help them do that, about how important the quality of these meals are. And in our service, it's more than a meal. It's also a registered dietitian provides one-on-one counseling with people that are being referred to our services. So we're doing what we can to get that exact word out. We've worked with a national group called the Food is Medicine Coalition, and in California we have the California Food is Medicine Coalition, and those groups have been really instrumental in helping educate medical providers and payers, healthcare payers, about the difference between quality and what a true medically tailored meal intervention is. And we would love for volunteers and board members and other people to help us get that word out.
Are you guys further looking into bringing back more classes for the clients?
Yes, the in-person classes have been, in all segments of public health, have been really challenging to one, just get the mechanism back up and running to do that. But also people's behaviors have changed a lot during the pandemic. We were talking about this yesterday. We deliver so many more grocery boxes and meals than we ever have because during the pandemic we had to deliver. Before the pandemic, we had heavy foot traffic in here 6 days a week. And when we started delivering, just like you or I got Instacart last week, or I got a company that delivered groceries to me because I was kind of used to doing that. So a lot of our clients are used to having the delivery, and they are less likely to come in person to either pick up or come to a class. So we definitely would like to do more in-person classes in San Francisco and Oakland, but we're also getting much better at offering virtual ways to provide education. And our client services team have a program that they developed during the pandemic where they provide video classes for people. And it's highly attended and very, very well received. And people actually talk about the meals that they get from us and how they are dealing with their diabetes or whatever their chronic health condition is. So the pandemic forced us to use technology more, like live streaming and providing direct service. But we do know it's really important for people to have that interaction in person. So we'll do everything we can to keep moving that forward. Yes, Michelle.
What impact does Project Open Hand and the other California Food is Medicine Coalition organizations have on their local economies?
Good question. We have Project Open. Oh, I have to repeat the question. What impact does Project Open Hand and our sister agencies throughout the state have on local economies? So kind of a follow-up to Linda's question also. You know, we employ 140 full-time employees here at Project Open Hand, and we deliver about 1 million meals, and they're all made here in our kitchen. And all of our employees live or work in the immediate area, obviously. We have so many employees that have been with us well over 20 years, 15 years, and they've made a career out of our organization. And the same is true with our partners in San Diego, Los Angeles, San Jose, that we're people from the community, of the community, serving the community. And we know that if our local payers were to contract with, let's say, a meal source from Nebraska or Iowa or someplace like that and ship them in, not only is it a lower quality product, which we've proven that, we've shown that, but it's also not supporting the local economy. It's not supporting tax dollars that are intended to be used in the local community too. Yes. Bill.
Tell us a little bit about the sustainability initiative that Project Open Hand has taken.
Sure. I was asked about our environmental sustainability efforts that we've taken on in the last few years. And I mentioned that briefly in my address. A few years ago, I brought this up, probably 6 years ago before I was here. I kind of broached the subject of, more organic foods from the grocery center that we can provide and into our production. And quite frankly, it was a challenging conversation to have with many of my peers and colleagues because we all want to make the meal as cheap as we can. But the more we talk about it and the more we realize the relationship between our overall environment and our food systems, the more we realize that we further sell our clients short by not giving them the highest quality, most sustainable products too. So we have, through a grant from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, gave us some tools and resources to work with some local growers to find out if we can buy some more locally grown food that's organic and put it into our operation. It's not inexpensive. We all know organic food is generally more expensive, but the price is coming down in many places because there's so much more of it available. So we're definitely looking at how can we use the resources we bring in to invest more in the local economy from a sustainability agriculture perspective. But also, many people don't know this, but we have solar panels on our roof. In fact, we have a photo of Mayor Gavin Newsom when they were installed many, many years ago. They're probably producing about half of the electricity they should because they are so old, but that's free electricity for us. And so we definitely want to move towards replacing those. We have a goal, a long-term goal of establishing an electric vehicle fleet. We have 14 vehicles right now. Some of them are parked in the basement. Some are parked in South San Francisco. 8 of them are in Oakland. They're all gas propelled vehicles. We know there's ways because we own our building outright. We could produce some of the electricity and charge our own vehicles in our basement too. So we have some partners that are interested in hearing more about that over the years, and we think that's a really important part. The Tenderloin is a crowded area. The more vehicles that are producing emissions contribute to asthma, COPD, and everything else in this neighborhood. And again, we have a responsibility to do our part to clean up our own neighborhood too. Other questions? Well, maybe I should close with reminding you all that we have a Dining Out for Life event in the East Bay next Thursday. You can go to our website and learn more about that. And then November 22nd will be our hand-to-hand event at the Hibernia Bank. We'd love to see you all there for that too. And we really, really appreciate you all joining us tonight and hope that you share this with other folks and talk about Project Open Hand, and invite me anytime you'd like to have a further discussion. Thank you.